broadcasting live out of a basement in Appleton, Wisconsin. You're tuned into Fox Cities Core on WCZR Code Zero Radio. We're the show that gives you an opportunity to call in and be a part of the show. Our call-in line is 920-358-0795. Core.
My next guest has been part of the fabric of the Fox Cities music scene for decades. He's helped bring a ton of acts to the area at the Concert Cafe and currently at the Tarlton and at the Tracks. He organized and put together a fabulous fest that's taking place next week. It's the Green Bay UFO Riot Fest 2024 that's going to take place at the Tarlton. It brings me great pleasure to introduce TimeBomb Tom Smith. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I wish that it was more of like a Riot Girl Fest. I wish, we're trying to represent, as much women in rock as we can on this festival. But, as everything in this world, things need work. And that's one of the things about the festival. We want it to be inclusive to a lot of different things. Like we're the whole main kind of gist of the festival is we want you to come and see bands that you've never heard of and go, wow, I really love that band. They're great. And because that's to me what a good music festival is, such as like Goner Fest in Memphis. And that's actually the direct inspiration for the GBUFO Infasion Fest this year and last year was I went down to Riot. Gee, you got me doing it now. I went down to Goner Fest, and I was just blown away by how well they curated it, and just bands that I never really even heard of or maybe heard their name. And then they're like suddenly my favorite bands, like GT from Australia and Snooper from Nashville. And we're hoping that some people go to this and they have their Snoopers and their GTs, like for one band in particular from Carbondale, Illinois, Pet Mosquito. I really think there's going to be a lot of Pet Mosquito fans in the area after next Friday.
Well, it's really impressive the amount of work you've done to curate this. The amount of bands, it's 47, I think?
48.
48, which...
You're trying to jinx us. Now some band's going to have a breakdown, and it's all your fault.
And I was looking over the list. Of course, we've been playing a ton of those on Code Zero, and I found out like about Proud Parents, who I'm really excited to see, and they're breaking up later this year.
That is sad that the Proud Parents are breaking up, but... sometimes it comes to a point in a relationship in the band where they have to do what's best for themselves, what's best for the children, and what's best for the cats. And the Proud Parents have decided we're going to do this. And I'm actually just proud that their second to last show is here in Green Bay, even though I'm in Appleton right now. And I apologize for being late. I haven't come to Appleton since going to the exclusive company here. And I took a different exit than I usually do. And I'm one of those old people who doesn't have GPS on their phone. And I just try to figure it out by looking at a map on my phone. I'm not that old that I folded out a map to come here, and I'm late, so I'm really sorry about that.
That's okay. If I was in Green Bay, I said I would be completely lost as well. I rely on GPS. Without it, I have no idea where I'm going. But you mentioned the exclusive company, and you are a legend. It's been great because we've had some of the other people that have made the great Green Bay scene what it is. We've had Reverend Norb, Jim Runge, and we've got people that are making big moves like Tarl Knight has been on, and now we're honored to have you on here. And you started in the local music scene was it 1988 when you walked? Can you tell us about when you walked into the exclusive company? I know I heard Reverend Norb talking about it.
Well, I was working at a record store in the Port Plaza Mall called JR's Music Shop. When I first started working there, it's called Galaxy of Sound. If you hear me talking about that store more than often than not, I'm going to refer to it as Galaxy of Sound. Same thing with the Concert Cafe. The name did change to Rock and Roll High School. And I'm sure there's bands have gone, oh, they played at Concert Cafe when actually they played there when it was Rock and Roll High School. But yeah, my employment ended in the mall, and I needed a new job, and I asked Norb actually, no, he wasn't my roommate yet, but I asked him for a ride down there, and I went in and I came out and said, yeah, basically I've got the job. I interviewed with Jim Smith, who was the assistant manager at the time, and Debbie Drum, who is the manager, was on vacation, so he had to wait for her to get back and, totally make it official or not. But it turned out Jim Smith had been there for a while. He actually kind of was actively trying to recruit me to come over from the mall to the exclusive company. And I didn't for the longest time because I didn't want to take the pay cut. But because, going to the exclusive company, you're at minimum wage of $3.35, and I think, I was rich. I was making $3.75 in the mall. So, but nonetheless, I finally came over there, and it was like one of the absolute best decisions in my life. It's I've formed so many friendships and relationships with musicians and other people of the such in town that, like, I probably who knows if I would have even stayed in Green Bay if I went to work at the exclusive company. And the exclusive company was really fun. We mentioned the exclusive company in Appleton. They were a great crew, guys like Tim Beekler and Mark Hillstrom. Kind of, I thought of those guys coming back here today, because, Appleton makes me think of the exclusive company big time. And it's now been 2 years since we've been gone, the exclusive company.
When you walked in there that first time, did you have any sense that you were going to be there that long? 24 years?
No, I was in college at the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay. At the time, I did not think I was going to be working in record stores the rest of my life. Not that I didn't think that was not a cool thing or not an option. But I don't know. You just you're young, I guess I didn't also expect to live in Green Bay my entire life. I moved here when I was 4 from Milwaukee, and I didn't really think I'd be in Green Bay my whole life, to be honest with you. I was younger. I kind of wanted to get out of Green Bay. Unfortunately, I didn't, but I'm just trying to make Green Bay a better place by, activities I do and stuff. And, we got to have a lot of potential in Green Bay. It's not there yet. But, why not? You know what I mean? Every city, wasn't the absolute coolest music scene at one point. They had to work to it, build to it. There's a lot of young musicians in Green Bay who are coming up, and they're doing their own thing, and they're DIY. They just do their thing, and they're great about it. And it's great seeing them come up and their enthusiasm, because us old people can't be doing things forever. You need these, up and coming stars. And I just want to say Modern Haunting from Green Bay is just a fabulous band. They're my new favorite Green Bay band. They just played at the GBUFO at the record store on 4th of July. We were celebrating a dog's birthday named Storm. And they're just great. And they have their whole group of friends, Sinking Lessons and Sinner and the Saint and Radio for Pets and one I'm not thinking of right now. They just they're great. They're onto something, and bravo for them. You know what I mean? So I've already told Modern Haunting they're on the GBUFO Fest next year. I apologize they're not on it this year, but so yeah, Green Bay, it's cool, sort of.
When did you get into booking bands? How long after you were working at the exclusive company in Galaxy of Sound did you also decide, I'm going to try to start booking? I was booking shows before I worked there. My first show I set up, I was working in the mall at Galaxy of Sound. It was a benefit show at the VFW on Pine Street. I did it with Chris Preddy and another friend of mine who I'm not going to mention his name. And it was a benefit because a friend of ours who had passed away and she had taken her life, and it was to raise money for her family and also for suicide awareness. That was in the summer of '86. And then I didn't really do any shows until '88 at the VFW. And
I'm not really sure. I might have been still in the mall when I did the first one. It might have was after because Lefties is closed. So yeah. So I started doing shows on a regular basis at the VFW on Pine, like the first year I was working at the exclusive company, probably like within a month or two. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So like
was it genre? Months. Was it like a punk genre that you were booking originally, or
that, and like, you know, bands at the time you'd call college rock, like the Weeds from Madison, who are still around now. They've been reactivated. I would call Rebel Waltz college rock, and I mean that in the nicest ways as possible, because we'd call REM college rock. So I'll call Fun with Atoms and Rebel Waltz college rock, because those are the two bands in the area from the time who I'd say were REMs. Like both of them like are that good, you know, like,
and then they're both like all working, well, not all of them, but most of them are still doing music and
yep. Well, Fun with Atoms is still going. They're still going strong. They got new material. They just played at the WAMIs in Green Bay about a month ago. They're great as always. And Rebel Waltz, you know, they're one of those bands that we're going to try to twist their arm to do a reunion in the future at the GBUFO Infasion Fest, you know, maybe next year, maybe year after, but they're on our hit list, you know. We're going after Rebel Waltz. So you hear that, DeGooey? You hear that, Dave Moore? Do you hear that, JJ? Do you hear that, Tim Beekler? We're coming for you.
So you mentioned the Lyric Room, Changed to Rock and Roll High School. How many shows do you think you booked at that venue?
I don't know.
Are we talking?
I really wish I would have kept a journal.
Are we talking like hundreds or
hundreds? Yeah. I mean, for a while there, we were doing like 4 or 5 shows a week at the Concert Cafe, because that was the first time the Green Bay punk scene had a control of a venue. And usually when you have to rent a hall for $300 to set up a band that 40 people are going to come to, like, that's a no-go. But the Concert Cafe, like a lot of shows we did, like the venue made or lost money, but it was a community service. And you know what I mean? We were able to help out a small band on a Tuesday night, you know. Fortunately, you can't get 300 people always to come out on a weeknight or something like that. So
how hard was it to get started booking some of the bigger acts there? Did you have to put a lot of your own money up front?
Well, when I set up the Buzzcocks, I had to break into my retirement to pay their deposit.
Did you at least make back what you pulled out for that? Okay.
No. That's funny, but no.
I mean, I went to a bunch of shows up there. I think at L7, I've been curious to hear your
Rich Winker set up both the 2 times that L7 played. Rich Winker, who everyone knows was like one of the foundations of the whole 80s scene, like, and the 90s scene. I mean, him and Jim Baker were doing shows together a lot. Rich kind of broke off on his own, and then he flew. If, you know, I don't know if anyone's watched the Who Killed WCW TV show on Vice, but if we're doing like the Vice Who Killed the Concert Cafe thing, well, I don't think Rich killed it, but Rich moving to Minneapolis was a huge blow to us, a brain drain. I mean, he still did some shows, but it's pretty hard to do stuff like that long distance. But yeah, like, I just remember like sitting at the Country Frog and someone come up like, hey, I want to buy you a shot because you set up this band. And like, well, actually Rich set up that one. And then I want to go, that band I didn't like anyways. But, and I got so tired of correcting people on some of these bands. Like, let's get the record clear right now. I never set up Face to Face in Green Bay, and I would set up Face to Face in Green Bay. They helped destroy Kutzka's Hall. I don't like to even hear about Face to Face, but some guy wants to buy me a shot of Jägermeister because I set up Face to Face. But I got to the point where I was just like, yeah, thank you. They're not even going to explain. That was Rich's show. But I want to make it clear right now, like, I've been giving credit for stuff like Rich has done over the years, and Rich was so important in the Concert Cafe. Like, he's the guy who's bringing Brainiac there. He was the guy bringing Jawbox there. You know what I mean? So, you know, like, I just want to make sure Rich doesn't get the name. Like, no one sings Rich the praises that should be done. So I guess since we're on the subject, I just did that. I mean, who brought Fugazi to Green Bay many times? It was Rich. You know what I mean? Like, okay.
Were you at the Cuscus Hall show that?
No, I didn't. I worked that night, and I don't like face to face, so I didn't go to that show. And then I heard about it, and I was just so saddened. You know, I mean, for people who haven't heard it, like before the show, face to face was warned that, hey, the floor is kind of doing iffy. Please don't encourage people to like jump or something like that. And then they included. And then they tried to get, they encouraged people to jump and stuff. And then I heard they said, then now this is what I heard. This could be hearsay, but I heard they said something on stage like, we didn't get paid enough money anyways tonight, blah, blah, blah. So nonetheless, if they said that or not, they helped contribute to it. And then over the years, they think it's funny. Like I talk to people like, I saw them at Summerfest and they're, making jokes about that. Like, it's not funny to us. That's the place the Dickies played at. That's the place the Circle Jerks played at. That's the place Fugazi played at. That's the place that
Black Flag
Napalm Death Beach played. No, actually, what was that?
But did Black Flag play there as well?
No, Black Flag, the only time they played in Green Bay, played at the Riverside Ballroom.
Wow, I can't imagine.
June 13th, 1986, they broke up about 2 weeks later. They played with Painted Willie, who were better than Black Flag, and they played with Gone, who were better than Black Flag, and they played with Moral Disgust, who wasn't better than Black Flag, but they were pretty good. Speaking of those Oshkosh guys. So, high sale.
So that face-to-face show is on YouTube, and I was there that night, and I'll have to watch it to see if they said that, but I do remember they were trying to encourage people to jump, and there were some comments on the YouTube video. People were saying, I thought the floor it doesn't look that bad, but it was bad. Like, it was definitely like...
Well, there was never, ever, 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 ever another show ever again at Kutzka's.
The cost to fix that would have not, been feasible, I think.
Yeah. Bob Kutzka, he hated it when ASCAP or BMI would hit him up for money. I remember him complaining to me one time. That guy was pretty cheap.
Do you have a favorite show that you booked?
A favorite show that I booked?
Or would you have to take it by decades?
Besides Modern Haunting last week at the GBUFO.
Did I see Rick Collins shaved? He had his eyebrows shaved off?
Yes. People be watching that on YouTube decades later, just like face to face, and probably enjoying it more. I don't know. Also, maybe the GBUFO Infasion Fest next week. I've never put as much energy, love, and heart into some shows, but I don't know, that Buzzcock show I mentioned with Down by Law and the Lunatics and Boris the Sprinkler, that was up there. The Oblivions, when they played Green Bay on a Wednesday night, show that went to 2 a.m, and the only reason it ended at 2 a.m, because that's the time that we're supposed to close, and at that night and that juncture, I honored the city's wishes. And they played an hour and a half. It's just insane. They just kept rotating instruments, and there's 20 people there, but still, that might be it's the Rip-Off show, the Rip-Offs at Concert Cafe. That's another one, definitely. Probably Mudhoney,
yes,
there, or the Monkey Wrench. Those were up there ones for sure. Teen Generate with Boris the Sprinkler and the New Bomb Turks. That was another good one. The Headcoats with the Chinese Millionaires and the Makers. And of course, since we just brought up a show where we actually closed when we were supposed to, I'll bring up a show when we didn't close when we were supposed to. It was the day before the Headcoat show, and it's the first time ever that Nashville Pussy played in Green Bay. And the headliner was the Pleasure Fuckers from Spain. And it was the first time the Quadrajets played in Green Bay. It was the first time At the Drive-In played in Green Bay. And let me tell you, we saw At the Drive-In. They played in the middle of the bill or earlier, and we're like, oh yeah, this band's going to be huge someday. Too bad their recordings never lived up to them live, but I do love At the Drive-In. But live, that they were just monsters. We could tell then, I said, these guys are the next Jane's Addiction or something, I believe is what I said that night. And calling them the next Jane's Addiction is not an insult. Nothing Shocking is a great record. But, okay, I lost my train of thought because I was, favorite shows or something there's so many of them.
Do you still enjoy seeing shows after all these years?
Oh yeah, that's the only reason I do this. I mean, I gotta admit, I have more fun when I travel to Memphis for something like Goner Fest, and like I'm not financially responsible for the things, and I'm not responsible for anything, and I just can sit there and watch it. Yeah, it's more enjoyable. I just went down to Memphis to Hernando's Hideaway, a legendary honky-tonk venue, to see Guitar Wolf from Japan. And that was my favorite Guitar Wolf show ever, and that was my 4th time seeing them. But as someone pointed out to me, that was the first time you saw them where you didn't have to set them up. I'm like, that was it. That's why I had so much fun. So as much as I like Guitar Wolf, yeah, pretty much would lose money setting them up in Green Bay. Possibly not the first time when we had them play with Squirt Gun and made Squirt Gun play last, so all the punk kids had to watch Guitar Wolf. But that show might have been a break even, that one. But yeah, like I still love doing shows. I still love seeing them. But yeah, I got to admit it, when I can just be a wallflower, it's a lot cooler.
Well, and this is the second year for your festival. Last year was the inaugural year, correct?
Yes.
And what did you learn last year that you changed for this year? Last year was at a skate park.
Yeah. Kids who skate don't really care about music. That's what I learned. No offense to the Jabasso. It's a great place. I'm all for skating, blah, blah, blah. But when I was growing up, there's this connection between punk rock and skating and stuff. Like, I don't think that exists anymore. I don't, why do they even print Thrasher? I don't know. Do they print Thrasher anymore? I don't know. But yeah, they some of the kids seemed just more inconvenienced that we had the music there. And I learned not to do it there because there's really not a lot of place where you can watch the bands up close. You kind of have to watch them on those skate rampy things they have. And I was kind of looking around like, wow, there's no railings here. Like, it'd be really easy for someone to get hurt. Like, I want my insurance agent to be watching this. But it was cool. I mean, it was an experiment, and we did it a free show. And that's the biggest thing I learned from last year, because like having free shows on a festival doesn't help get money in to pay bands. So like, no free shows on this. I'm sorry, we're making you pay. As much as we like doing it at different venues and stuff, it's going to be cooler having it all at the historic Tarlton Theatre. And, just for people like who aren't from the area, traveling around. Let me tell you, for Colin, who's doing the sound and the PA, and Joe Lambert is assisting on that too, as they're pooling their equipment resources. Boy, they're happy to load into one venue and then load out of one venue, because we had to move the sound a number of times last time. Another thing we learned, it was great having all those cool flyers that Norb had. Like, I don't know if you remember them. You could hook them up like a map. It was a cool Buck Rogers thing. That kind of confused people. In fact, some places I went up to put up flyers, like, ooh, they don't even have enough room for me to tack all these. So we went with one this year. It's another incredibly awesome design flyer by the Reverend Norb. And it has all the information in one spot. This is all you need, except for the times, which we have added to the Facebook event. And they're also in an ad in the city, in the Green Bay City Pages Press Times. The Green Bay Press Times City Pages that came out on Thursday. And the one thing I said to Norb is, since we had 48 bands, I said, you don't have to put where each band is on the flyer, because that would have made this then it would have been like the Rosetta Stone or something like that. But yeah, I'm very happy and very love this flyer that the Reverend Norb did. I think he did a great job.
Yeah, and you can't see it right now, Tom, but I've got all the bands up on the screen that are playing, and it's a lot.
It's 48.
Yeah, it's a ton. And I saw a comment on the flyer that somebody said that was hard to read. I thought it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah,
Fitting that many bands on a flyer is not easy.
I've seen that thing where someone thought it was hard to read, and I don't understand at all. I look at this flyer, and I easily see that on Friday, July 19th, Holly and the Nice Lions are headlining. Before them are Sweet Knives. Before them are Plastic Land. Before them are Wristwatch. Before them are Pet Mosquito. As I said, remember that name, Pet Mosquito. You're all going to love Pet Mosquito after next Friday. if I had a hi-fi, or actually long than if I had a hi-fi. Actually, no, it is if I had a hi-fi and a long, but never mind. I guess I was reading it wrong. But nonetheless, I think this is a very, very efficient Flier. So.
And your relationship with Reverend Norb and Boris the Sprinkler goes back quite a ways, and they just released a new album. You stayed open past midnight for the official release. Does it mean a lot to bands still to have some of that old school record store mentality, like back in the day when you did have to wait till midnight to get physically something in your hand? I do, and they help promote it and their socials too and stuff. And yeah, I think, you know what I mean? It is saying something like, there's this, and I know they're from Green Bay, but just think of it, some band from somewhere else, like, oh, because we do other midnight openings. Look, this record store in Green Bay, Wisconsin is going to do a midnight opening, or in our case, stay open to midnight. Though, next midnight opening, since I now live like 5 minutes from the GBUFO by bike, I think I might actually close at 11 and go home and make a sandwich and then come back. And let me tell you, living that close to work is the best thing in the world. I recently had to move. I lived in the same house for 30 years, and I was forced to move on short notice by evil landlords. I mean, actually, I shouldn't compliment them by saying landlords, slumlords. And, oh my gosh, working in record stores the whole time, living in the same house for 30 years, you accumulate a lot of stuff. And I do not recommend this to anyone. If you're ever going to move out of a place you've been in for 30 years, please allow yourself enough time to move so you don't have a nervous breakdown. I got to admit, like, it kind of like interfered with a little bit of my work on this year, which is nothing I could do about because you have to have a place to live. I mean, there was some bands that I was going to try to get that I had to I was unable to make my full court press for. But one of them that I didn't go after really worked out, actually, because it's the Mistreaters from Milwaukee, and they were on Estrus Records. And next year, we're hoping part of the festival is going to have like an Estrus Records flavor, and we're going to try to get the Mistreaters from Milwaukee to do a reunion. Sugar Shack from Houston, we're going to try to fly up to play. And we're going to try to book a band from outer space. You probably can guess who they are since they are on Estrus Records. We actually tried to book them for this year, but one of the members of Manor Asterman had surgery, and they weren't doing any touring at the time of this. So that's kind of a little sneak peek for next year. And so it's definitely going to happen next year again.
Next year for sure. We'll see after that. We'll see financially and mentally how long I can withstand this, but next year for sure. We'll see after that. You know what I mean?
And again, how it works is it's going to be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's all at the Tarlton, which if you haven't been there, it's an old movie theater. It's got a nice stage, awesome place to see
all
shows.
Ages too.
All ages, which is great. You can buy tickets for either the 3 days single, or you can buy a VIP ticket, which covers all 3 days. And it's the music starts at noon typically every day and goes
every
late.
day, high noon, like for sure, with 16 bands a day. Unfortunately, the trains have to run on time, so I'll be helping stage manage. I'll be having this big whip with me. No, I won't be doing that. But we're communicating to all the bands that we have a short changeover. We have backline. I mean, I understand some of the bands need to use their own amps for getting the right tones and stuff, so we're cool with that. But we do have, amps, and actually Madison Drum Makers from Madison, Wisconsin have custom built us a drum kit for this, and you'll be seeing that at the festival. And we have a lot of bands, but we're going to keep it running quickly. I mean, I'm one of the MCs. I'm going to make sure I don't babble on too much on things. I'm going to keep it real, that. And we have some other MCs, some really cool MCs. We got Jeremy Scott. We all know Jeremy Scott from The Raining Sound, and also from his many other bands, and from his incredible solo record that came out last year. And he's going to do some MCing. His wife, Bloody L is her DJ name. It's also her roller derby name. She also is from Memphis. She's going to be DJing. Lucy Isadora of Big Clown. She's going to be doing some MCing, and oh my gosh, she is an incredible MC. I saw her MC at Gonerfest last year, at Gonerfest 20. and she's so funny. She's so good. Actually, her performance, that is like totally why her band Big Clown is on this bill. And my friends in the Florida Brothers band from Milwaukee, they preached me the gospel of Big Clown, and they convinced me, like, go do it. And Big Clown is another band that, like Pet Mosquito, you're gonna remember them, you're gonna love them. And Big Clown is the only band on the entire festival that we are preparing a cheese platter for. And they're excited. They're excited to come up here to go to Culver's. Yeah, they're just they're going to the promised land, then they're going to Wisconsin. And that makes me happy that a band from Memphis is all excited to come up to Green Bay, Wisconsin to play. You know what I mean? So I think I've won already, whether I lose money or break even on this. Well, I'm not going to break in. Whether I lose a lot of money or lose only sort of a lot of money on this, I've won already. This is going to be so much fun. I'm very looking forward to it.
And you can get tickets in Appleton, I think, at
Roding Winds? At the Roding Winds in Appleton and Oshkosh. Big thanks to Adam and his crew for doing that too. They're one of our sponsors on the festival too. I mean, they're doing a great job. I mean, they're filling the gap of the great exclusive company Appleton leaving, and it's good to see them doing good. It's like Adam used to work at our Oshkosh store a long time ago. I used to kind of talk to him on the phone, and I have to call for transfers or something like that. And I'm always proud of ex-exclusive company family members, or actually they're all still family members forever, and when they go out on their own and have great success like he has. So it makes me feel good.
Did you get a lot of, when you're up at the Green Bay exclusive company, did you get a lot of performers that were coming through town that would stop in the record store, or any entertainers or football players?
Yeah, lots of football players, well, especially before streaming, and even before Best Buy, and it was right down there by the thing. But yeah, I mean, let me see. Reggie White used to shop there. I remember the first time he came in, I asked him, how did you hear about us? And he said, I wanted to say, did God tell you? But I thought better of that. And because I'm a big Reggie White fan, and I also don't want him to kill me. And he said, some of the guys in the locker room told me about it, which was the thing. There used to be always a wide receiver of the Green Bay Packers who would bring in new players. Clarence Weathers, really super great possession receiver. And actually, I think he's an educator too. He used to bring people in. Clarence Weathers, I think he played in Indy when Lindy and, I think he played maybe with Cleveland when Lindy Infante was the offensive coordinator. I think he had a Lindy Infante connection, new Lindy Infante system. But he used to bring players in. When he was no longer with the team, a Packer receiver, people may remember, named Charles Wilson. He has more potential than what his career. Nice guy. He used to bring players in. And Charles Wilson is the gentleman who brought in Brett Favre into the exclusive company for the first time. And this was 2 weeks after Favre got traded from Atlanta. And he came in with Charles, and I knew he's a football player because he was with Charles Wilson. But I'm looking at him, and he was kind of big. He was like 250 pounds at that time. I mean, he sat on the bench as the third string quarterback in Atlanta behind Chris Miller and Billy Joe Tolliver drinking. And he was really mad because he was supposed to get the backup spot, and they cut Gilbert Renfro and Scott Miller in training camp. But then they traded for Billy Joe Tolliver from the San Diego Chargers. And then that put him in a bad attitude. Him and Granville didn't get along. I actually said something like, I like Jerry Granville because I like Jerry Granville as a performer. I mean, he used to leave tickets for Elvis and Phantom of the Opera, and he wore all black. He coached kind of an over-aggressive, sorry, borderline dirty defensive game at times, but he was colorful. He brought the run and shoot to Atlanta via the Red Gun with Mouse Davis and June Jones. And, so I liked him. And then I said something positive about Jerry Granville once, and Favre just literally rolled his eyes in front of me. He just was not having that at all. And he kind of grunted or something like that. And, so I went up, so I go, well, who's this guy? He looked 250. I said, is he a linebacker? So I went up to him and said, are you Brett Favre? And he looked shocked that I knew who he was. And then I babbled to him about the Atlanta Falcons for 20 minutes. So, he was a longtime customer. His wife was really cool. She told us the story that Chris Elliott actually got hives during the filming of Something About Mary, so they just wrote it into the movie. I thought that was pretty cool. She told us. She was really nice. She definitely didn't deserve some of the treatment that she received from him as, his wife, but, Sterling Sharp used to come in on his day off. He was great. He would refuse to give people autographs. He's like, not on my day off. And then they go, then customer, but this is your day off. Like, you're not, yeah, sorry that you saw me on my day off, but you're not getting, you know what I mean? And I learned with Sterling Sharp, as long as you don't talk football and just talk music, you got along really good with them. Sterling Sharp is great. It's a crime that Sterling Sharp is not in the NFL Hall of Fame. Him and Jerry Rice are top dogs back then. I know his career got cut short from the injury, but Sterling Sharp definitely needs to be in the Hall of Fame. And I just found out that the mayor of Green Bay, that is one of his things. He really wants to see Sterling Sharp get into the Hall of Fame. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, and you're a Bears fan, aren't you?
I am a Bears fan, but I'm an NFL fan. So, I mean, hey, I got to hubnub with Hall of Famers working there. You know what I mean? Reggie White, possibly the greatest defensive player of all time. You know what I mean? So
that's pretty cool.
But my favorite Reggie White story was him and his wife came in as about a week after when Buddy Ryan, his former coach at the Philadelphia Eagles, was the defensive coordinator for the Houston Oilers. And Buddy Ryan and the offensive coordinator, Kevin Gilbride, got into it on the sideline, and Buddy Ryan threw a punch at him. And they came in. I go, because I knew Reggie loves Buddy Ryan. That's like a father to him. So I wanted to know what Reggie White thought on this. So I asked him. I didn't get to hear Reggie White's response because his wife instantly interceded, and she's like, you don't know what that guy was saying about Buddy's family. And she was totally team Buddy, was totally signed off on Buddy Ryan taking a swing. So that's actually one of my favorite customer football stories at the exclusive company.
I love it. Now, of course, you're at the GBUFO record shop, which hopefully your experience with all that is continuing as far as having people walk in and.
We haven't got any football players yet. I mean, we're tagging AJ Dillon on Twitter because AJ Dillon hey, where do I shop in Green Bay for record stores? And he hasn't come in yet. He resigned, so we'll give him a chance. We have one of the Packers training staff shop at the store. He used to also shop at the exclusive company. He's I'm not going to tell you his name, but you see him on TV all the time working with players. Really nice guy, really big Grateful Dead fan. But we need Jordan Love to come into the Green Bay UFO Museum. Anybody out there who's buddies with Jordan Love, if he's into music, tell him to come on in. My running joke is Jordan Love is my favorite Beach Boy.
Were you at the Beach Boys show a couple days ago?
I mean, it sounded fun, but I wouldn't pay. I mean, I gotta admit, I'm one of those guys, these heritage acts. You know what I mean? Some of them should be sent to the glue factory. You know what I mean? I don't know, maybe not them, but I just unbar, you know what I mean? It's just it's like Mike Love. I mean, I don't even know if Bruce Johnson was there. I mean, I know I kind of was looking this up on Wikipedia to see who exactly is in the Beach Boys now. But I'm not a John Stamos fan. I never watched Big House or whatever he was on, Full House. And I always hated the song Kokomo. That is, to me, one of the most hated songs ever. It has even bothered me when they use it on What They Do in Shadows. Please, no, you're legitimizing this awful song. But, I didn't really want to do that. They did do Rockaway Beach by the Ramones, the Beach Boys. So I thought that was kind of cool because obviously the Beach Boys were a big influence on the Ramones. If you listen to the Ramones song Touring, that's obviously their ode to the Beach Boys. I mean, I love the Beach Boys. They're one of the greatest American bands of all time because of Brian Wilson. And, people had fun. My ex-wife was there, my ex-mother-in-law. They looked like they had a blast. So if people are having fun seeing the Beach Boys in 2024, that's cool. I worked. This wasn't my thing. I'm sure it'd be too cheap to pay whatever they're charging. You know what I mean? I mean, if I could have gotten it for free and it was convenient, I might have, but oh well.
We've got a comment here from Eric Hermy. He says, thanks, Tom, for all the shows over the years. Concert Cafe and Rock and Roll High School were always a blast.
Well, thank you, Eric. Thank you very much.
Of course, Eric does on Facebook Fox Cities Live. He's going to a lot of shows around the Fox Cities and constantly posting pictures. I can't believe the amount of ground he covers. Which brings me to the Green Bay scene. I mean, have you been do you have much experience with the Appleton scene versus the Green Bay scene?
I mean, I've known like a lot of cool rockers from Appleton over the years and stuff. I mean, I've definitely set up, Appleton bands. I mean, who didn't love Lugnut? I mean, Vesicular Basalt is like, if you're going to talk about the greatest band in the history of Wisconsin that starts with the letter V, let me tell you, folks, it's not the Violent Femmes, it's Vesicular Basalt. I mean, they're like Black Flag, Motorhead, and DRI mixed with All on crack. I mean, it just like, I've never seen a band that could be so melodic and so brutally hard. You know what I mean? And live, they're such a trip. I mean, John Snyder on vocals. I mean, you never know, like, if John's day didn't go that good earlier in the day, you might have seen like a dragon breathing fire behind that kit. But I mean, yeah, I've set up bands. I gotta admit, I can't tell you the last time I went to a show in Appleton and stuff. I mean,
well, if you're booking and working up there and you're surrounded by music all the time.
I mean, I saw at Amos's place, the Occult Detective Agency from Austin, Texas, but that might have been over 10 years ago. I'm trying to think what else when the Maritime was going, that was cool in Appleton. I saw a number of great shows there at the Maritime in Appleton. Yeah, I got to admit, like, since the Maritime went away in Appleton, like, I really haven't been getting out to stuff. I mean, I love they do the Miles and Miles of Music Festival, but that's just too much for me. And I would like to get that to one of these days. I got to admit, I work on the weekend. You know what I mean? I work Wednesday through Sunday. And but I got to check that out one of these days. They bring in good stuff. In fact, a couple of the bands that we have on this played there in the past, like Lung from Cincinnati, and If I Had a Hi-Fi. Though I remember If I Had a Hi-Fi, like them being told to turn it down a lot. I think there's stories or something. But can you turn down your cymbals? Wait, I'm not. That might be a different story, but never mind. But
well, so I was going to ask you. You're pretty notorious for blocking people on Facebook. What does it take to get blocked by you on Facebook?
Let me see.
How many people do you think you've blocked over the course of the last decade?
I mean, I wish Facebook had a counter. I wish actually Facebook had a way you could, like, it'd be alphabetical. Like, if you go through your block list, it's just chronological. And I gotta admit, there's a couple people that I've blocked that I shouldn't have blocked them, and like I want to unblock them, but my list is so long. I've actually unblocked a couple people, believe it or not, and yeah, it takes a while because I don't know, like 30,000. I don't know. The thing is, like, I mean, there's people get blocked randomly where it's like, I don't know them. They just like made some dumb comment on a like WBAY site or WLUK or an ESPN story. You know what I mean? When I see some guy being like homophobic or racist, or like, yeah, goodbye. Why would I ever want to see anything from you again? And I'm not saying that's the only why someone might have been blocked. Trust me. A lot of people are just blocked because they're assholes. You know what I mean? Or just like, oh, you want to shoot your mouth off? Like, whatever, goodbye. You know what I mean? Like,
one thing I like about you, Tom, is you don't hold back. And I'll use it as an example. One day when you canceled Danny Dew from Green Bay.
Yeah, well,
we don't have to get into that.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
you're not afraid to call people out.
Yeah. And like, I didn't really cancel him from Green Bay because I don't have that authority. I don't think anyone should have the authority. But Danny Dew is not welcome at any shows I'm promoting. You know what I mean? Because one, he's going to just try to sneak in for free. He's going to try to steal merch from a band, or maybe even steal merch money for a band under the guise of doing their merch for him. And like, this isn't hearsay. These are facts. I'm, you know what I mean? I don't feel like bad saying this because it's true. I mean, I'll be cool and not even go into the worst thing he did in Green Bay. Let's be positive, and trust me, I didn't come on here to like rip on anyone I've blocked or not blocked. So, but we'll leave it at that. But yeah, like, you know, people can get randomly blocked for dumb things. I mean, I'm not perfect. I gotta admit, like, some of my blocking, it's like, maybe I'm having a bad mental health day. You know what I mean? But there's some people, like, the things they post and see, like, if it's bothering me every time I see them, like, goodbye. You know, I hate to say it's like, for those who watch Star Trek, it's like my Tantalus field. You know what I mean? On Facebook. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's like, you know, it's just like, goodbye. You know what I mean? And, yeah, you know what I mean? I'm not perfect on that. I've definitely blocked some people I shouldn't have. And sometimes it's out of anger and like, you know what I mean? But there's some reasons like, oh yeah, that person's staying blocked for life. You know what I mean? Like, you know, but yeah.
We've got a comment here from Christopher Olson. He said, Tom is a legend, and thank you, Tom, for your contribution to the music scene. And then added, Tom's daughter is an amazing musician and comedian.
Awesome. Thank you for saying that about my daughter. Like, yeah, we hope to have, we're hoping maybe like we can get the Zizus to move to Wisconsin. So we'll hopefully have them on there. And I'm so worried that like the end of all those nice things, he's going to go, why did you block me on Facebook? And I would have like, I'm sorry. But,
We've got more here. Kurt Gunn, he says, thanks for all your years of service to the local music scene. And I remember my friends and I taking a bus to go hang out at Surfin' Bird and Exclusive Company. You sold me my first ever cassette, Kill 'Em All.
Oh, that's awesome, because Kurt's like a really good local musician and he does his thing for a long time. So that means a lot. Thank you, Kurt.
I mean, you were at the WAMIs. Let's talk about the Bammys first. You were up for like was it a Legend Award or Lifetime Achievement?
Like I wouldn't have accepted it. I would have like, I would have said this goes to Jim Runge. There's just no reason. Like the only reason I even got into the position to do what I'm doing because of hard work of guys like Jim Runge and Norb Rozek and Joel Wall and other guys like Jim Baker and Rich Winker, Cameron Krauth, he was doing shows for me, like Kurt Christensen at the Surfin' Bird, someone I do have blocked on Facebook. Oh, actually, being a Trump supporter is actually the easiest and quickest way to get blocked by me on Facebook. I don't know why I thought of that talking about Kurt Christensen when I thought of a Trump supporter, but yeah, that's like that. Yeah, 0 to 60 on a block like that. Okay. But guys like that all were, you know, they kind of like, you know, set up especially Rich Winker. Like, as I said, Rich Winker, like he of all those promoters, like a lot of those other promoters inspired me, influenced me. But Rich Winker, he helped like get the nuts and bolts together of how to actually do it right. And like, if it wasn't as like for those guys like Rich, like I wouldn't have done the great job I did at the Concert Cafe. You know what I mean? I know I brought my own flavor, influence, different things than those guys did. But I really like, if it wasn't for them first, who knows if I would have got going like I did. So you got to give those guys a lot of credit.
Well, then you were presenting at the Whammy Awards, which was the first time it was at the Epic in Green Bay. Did that feel kind of weird to all of a sudden be ingrained in the Whammies?
It was, because I got to admit, like, I might want to be those hipster. I might want to be one of what might have been one of those hipsters that might have been kind of like, I don't know, kind of joked about, you know, the Whammies, because a lot of us over the years feel like it didn't have enough of the underground and kind of independent stuff, and I gotta admit, it still seems very cover band centric, but there's nothing wrong with human beings making their living, playing other people's songs. I mean, I gotta admit, like over the years, I gotta been a little rough on that, but I have friends who play great original music, and they're also like in a band that you might want to call a cover band. And I hate to say it, but in this area, you probably make as much money playing one night in a cover band than you do in 3 years in an original band. You know what I mean? And like, so it's weird getting into that. And it's funny, it's Epic. I did get to the Epic before that for the first time to see Los Lobos. And that was incredible. That was so good. I could tell that turnout wasn't good enough. In fact, I ran into the guy who runs the Epic, and he seems like a really cool guy, though I think he misinterpreted some of my stuff on social media when we're joking around, and he thought that I said I was never going to go to the Epic ever, and it wasn't. I actually found a screenshot if it was, and I didn't say that. I said probably, but I never said that. So like I heard he'd called me out on that through another friend. And when I so I was walking down a hallway and I heard this voice, "Oh, geez, look who they let in here. What's going on with this?" And I turned around and I didn't know him. And I said, he kind of had me at a disadvantage, and he told me who he was and stuff like, "Oh, this guy, he's kind of seen me kind of talk a little crap." It's all when my friend Jake Erb started to sing about Puddle of Mud on their Facebook site. And it was just like wanting Puddle of Mud every show. It's just a big joke, and we got into it, and I made some girl, if they don't, and then I was trying to get them to do the MC5 and MC5 or we riot, and we're doing all this stuff. And I think they kind of thought they took it the wrong way. So it's cool that he saw me there. I had a nice chat with the guy. I said, "Hey, I was at the Los Lobos show." And he goes, "Oh, so you're the guy there." And my heart sank. And then I sat there and I realized this guy running the Epic Center, he runs in the same problems that I do my stuff on a smaller scale, much smaller scale. But he said he kind of knew it too. He says, "Yeah, there's certain bands, they're hot there, but we do them in Green Bay and then it doesn't turn out." And it made me realize that I don't realize the Epic is trying hard to bring great music to town. I mean, they book a lot of these kind of newer metal bands that I'm not into. I don't even know who they are, but they do really well. But it's cool. They're also trying to do stuff like Los Lobos too. And when I heard that, I'm like, you know what? I've been too rough on the Epic Center. I'm totally you're never going to hear me say anything negative about them ever again. And actually, I kind of laid off on them for a while. But I'm really going to say yeah, they may not book some bands you don't like, but they're trying hard to do cool things to Green Bay. And the Los Lobos show is great. It was I was up second row. Sound was great. I had a good time at the venue. I didn't like all the billions of armed cops they had there in the beginning, but it seems like they let them go after the initial run. But I never thought I'd be coming on here to prop up the Epic Center. But hey, you get older and you realize views you had or things you said were wrong. And the older I get, I realize, man, I've been more wrong than I thought I was right.
Is it kind of to tie up this portion of the conversation? Is it weird that you're now to a point in your life where you've got a legacy, you've got people thanking you for stuff you've done for them, and is that a weird feeling? It is
really weird because I kind of still am in the mindset it's the '80s, and I'm working at a record store, and I'm trying to help out bands on the side. You know what I mean? Because I still work in a record store, and I'm still doing that. So yeah, it kind of blows my mind, and I really I'm grateful and appreciative of this because, you know what I mean? I've done a lot of good stuff and I've done a lot of work. But I haven't been perfect in everything. And thanks to the people who have put up with my imperfectness at times.
If you haven't gone to the GBUFO record shop, you should go there. Not you, Tom. You go there all the time, but
I'm going there real soon.
People watching should go there. They've got quite a selection of local music. So
yeah, we have a Wisconsin section actually. So if you're looking for DeKreutzen or the Violent Femmes, we have them in our Wisconsin section. Fortunately, no vesicular basalt. I mean,
how do you do the local section? Are bands bringing in stuff to consign?
That or distributors that we can buy Wisconsin bands from? Obviously, like the Violent Femmes, we get through our one stop, for their their stuff on a major label. But we have bands. Local bands, please bring in your stuff. We'd love to sell it.
How did you get the nickname TimeBomb?
Norb gave that to me, and you know what? He said the story. He actually just picked it out of the air because it phonetically sounded good. Something was going. I mean, everyone's assumed over these years, including myself, it might have been maybe possibly my temper at times. But I think that was more when I was younger. Yeah, I'm not there yet, but I gotta admit, sometimes back in the day, sometimes unfortunately at punk rock shows and dealing with something, sometimes you just kind of had to explode and yell. But I was so relieved when Norb said, "Oh, that has nothing to do with that." So it was really good. So you know what I mean. I mean, what's the story that I was in the Navy and I did like demo stuff? Maybe you know what I mean. That's the new story.
It does. It kind of comes off the tongue nice. It's Time Bomb.
Yeah,
So
and that's why he did it, because he used to come on my radio show on GBW and do the Rock and Revs triple feature. We'd play 3 songs and he'd talk about them and stuff, and that's before he got his own show at GBW, and then he got that. We'd just just do that and stuff. But yeah, I was always like, wow, it's cool that the Reverend Norb's coming on my radio show and doing that. That was a lot of fun. I have some of those on tape somewhere.
Are those ever going to go up on YouTube or somewhere where
Yeah, I
people
mean, I have interviews like with the Ramones, Motorhead, Voivod, Metallica, Judas Priest, Metal Church, Anthrax, and others that I gotta like digitize and put out there one time. So, especially my Ramones interview in '86, I did it at the Metro in Chicago with Joey.
That would be cool to
He
hear.
gave me grief because I didn't know who Roger Corman was, the director of Rock and Roll High School, but I didn't know who he was at the time.
You didn't just nod and pretend you knew who?
No, I who's that? Was probably what I said. And he's like, you don't know who Roger Corman is? Like, so yeah, I have it on tape. Joey Ramone chastising me.
Well, we're already at the end of the show, but let's talk again about the event next week. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yep, 3 days at the historic Tarlton Theatre in beautiful downtown Green Bay, blocks away from one of our sponsors, Cheesesteak Rebellion. I recommend eating at them. And oh my gosh, the crab ragoon cheesesteak this week was so good.
Did we mention Kristen Leidy?
Oh, yeah. Kristen Leidy is doing us a huge solid because 2 nights in a row on Friday and on Saturday, she's curating and hosting the Burn This Comedians kind of like comedian mini fest, like at 5 o'clock on Friday and at 5:05 on Saturday. There's going to be 3 comedians come on and each do 10-minute stand-up sets, and she's all behind that. And she's Green Bay's comedy go-to, or comedy guru. I mean, she has a brand new album out too, available at the GBUFO, and I would recommend getting to that because she's one funny lady.
So you can not only hear music at the GBUFO Infasion Fest, you can also hear comedy and just...
And Punk Rock Saves Lives is going to be there. They're going to have a stand-up just trying to get people to consider organ donations. And we're going to have someone out there signing up people to vote, register to vote. And Jordan Davis is going to be former member of the Mystery Girls and who played at the GBUFO last year. He's going to be demoing his new video game at the festival too. So we got some really cool, fun stuff.
And tickets will be available at the door for people that are afraid to make a commitment.
It's not going to sell it in advance. I mean, I hate to say it, I can tell already, but so there'll be tickets available at the door.
That's great. And
hope to see you all next week. It's going to be a blast. You're going to be exhausted. The whole idea, it's a marathon run like a sprint.
And is there one particular day that you think is, if people can only check out one day, is there one day? I mean,
like Saturday, because we got the neck bones reuniting, but man, oh my gosh, like they're all can't miss. I mean, Plasticland playing their first show in Green Bay since 1988 on Friday with Sweet Knives from Memphis. And as I said, Pet Mosquito. And then, of course, on Sunday, you got the Sleevines, excuse me. They're singers from Dublin. He's coming all the way from Ireland. They're from Nashville. And I said, Big Clown. You don't want to miss them on Sunday. The Present Age from Oshkosh, which are headlining Sunday. You can argue they're one of the best Wisconsin bands. Easy hand down. I saw them at the Tracks a few months ago, and they blew me the frack away.
They're so good. Yeah, and they're closing it out on Sunday.
Yes, we have a kick-ass Wisconsin band closing every night. Holly and the Nice Lions on Friday, the Baby Tyler Band on Saturday, and the Present Age on Sunday.
Is there a place people can go find out more about the fest online?
If you're on Facebook, there's a Facebook event that's got like all the band's times in it and stuff, and like maybe on our Instagram. We don't have a web page for it. We're going to do this year, and some people even volunteer to do it for me, but I think the whole moving thing, next year we'll have a website for it.
So it's going to keep getting bigger, bigger, and bigger.
It's going to get better. I mean, maybe not bigger. I mean, I'm definitely not going to ever have more than 48 bands in 3 days. But yeah, we'll see how this works. Maybe I won't want to do that many bands next year. We'll see. It's a, we'll see. Yeah, we'll fine tune it every year.
Tom, thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thanks
today.
for having me. Sorry I got lost, and like now I got to worry about how getting out of here. Okay, I'll figure it out.